Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this permanent standing committee on strategies and public policies. Essentially, this is a meeting where we receive presentations from the citizens or from our staff, the staff of City Hall. No decisions are taken tonight. Normally, it's recommendations that come to us on different policies or different issues concerning our community. This allows a more open discussion and less structured, let's say. Doesn't mean that it's a brouhaha, but not quite as structured, if you wish, than official municipal council meetings. Without any further delay, I would ask Mr. Louis Doucette and Madame Florette Landry to come forward. Is Mrs. Cormier will present the issue. So, there, Mike. Good evening, members of council. I just want a small presentation before we start with the policy. They know it very well. Well, as we say, this is a day we want to celebrate the Day of Family. That was yesterday, February the 18th. Activities were very good. We know that they've given 150 hot chocolate. The media, nothing happens here. It seems that everything is happening on the other side of the creek. But in social media, luckily, our citizens like to talk about our activities because certain things went very well. It's the creation of one of the first family policy of the province. Allenville had it. Edmundston is preparing it. So we're one of the first to have it here in New-Brunswick. So this comes from the strategic plan of the city from 2016 to 2020. One of the objectives that we've implemented a committee. We want to thank our working colleagues who were on the committee, Eddie Duguay, Jean-André Frenette, myself, and we had Carole Landry, our former fire chief. We have committee, we have Joan Thériault also with us. And so the two that will present the policy, Florette and Doucette, they have accepted to present the policy and also to thank our consultant, Marc LeBlanc, who's here with us, who's consulted through the work. Without further delay, I'll leave the floor to them. They have the floor. Mrs. Landry, Mr. Doucette, good evening. It says you have been voluntold, as this in English. You've been told. That's exactly it. Good evening, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present this first family policy as proposed by our committee. So, Pauline already mentioned members from the city. We thank them sincerely for having participated on the committee. We would also like to thank the citizens who, besides Louis and myself, Philippe Arsenault, Mathieu Landry, Carmen Renault, and Joan Thériault, who participated on this committee. To begin, we send an invitation to groups and the population of the city of Dieppe to better get to know their ideas and their opinion and action to take for the first family policy of our policy. Furthermore, we met on 4 occasions during the last year, over and above taking part in some consultation projects, and we share many comments by email. In the implementation of context of this family policy, you know very well, Municipal Council in Strategic Plan 1620 develop the community and city in health and the strategy of becoming a model of the community in health. They decided to have a family policy. It's close to the heart, cultural and family. I know it's close to the heart. So, so maybe to remind, what is a policy? A family policy is a guide for the municipality and its decision making on subject that may have an impact on the quality and the well-being of all our families. Furthermore, a family policy is a reference tool for all those who work with a family. The city, which is a municipality, Friend of Seniors, has different policies that bring elements to ensure a better life for our seniors. We think these new family policies, with what has been undertaken by the city, will allow the stakeholders to implement a concerted action plan that will meet the future and present need of the family. To establish this family policy, we started from two statements. The family remains a priority for the city of Dieppe, and the family can already benefit from many activities, programs, and cultural support and community facilities. In the comments that we received during the consultation, several persons mentioned that the city is already doing good work for the family. We've received some very good testimony. We think you should hear it. Nothing is perfect as it goes, and these consultations allow us to propose some improvement and even new things. So, as Philip mentioned earlier, there's almost a year that we met for the first time. Our working group goes back to March of last year. Therefore, the work through the Committee of Citizens, but also with representatives from all the departments of the city, met around the table to develop the method, the mission, the guiding principle. We started by a public meeting that was held here in the lobby of City Hall with about 20 participants that allow us to design first intentions, the needs expressed by different families and different type of family and citizens. This brought us to a first consultation online with a question: what could be done to improve the family life in Dieppe? Simple, but from the answers that we received, we also had meetings with 6 organizations that take care of children, such as the Boy and Girl Club, the daycare center. We made presence at Macrady Show, swimming pool, library. Many people were asked for their feedback on what should represent or what should contain a family policy. A consultation was held online in the fall, quite a strong one that was able to take the information of 324 persons. 500 people were consulted, all in all. Tonight we want to present the content of the policy that you have before you. So it's a content that we find generally in family policies, namely in other provinces, especially in Quebec. Seems to be one of the forehead in this issue. We wanted to find a mission and a vision, and we decided to choose the same mission and the same vision as that of the city in the strategic plan, since we find that these two statements for the family policy goes perfectly in the family policy. So, to find a definition of what is a family, we turn the question around several ways, but I can tell you as much as there's several family policies in Quebec. Not one has the same definition. Ours goes like this: any association of two or more persons related between themselves by a link of mutual consent from birth, from adoption, from a second family, or placement due to a feeling of placement, and share the family responsibilities throughout life. Let's underline that we went for an inclusive definition to reflect the different family the single family, the homosexual couple, or recompose the married couple, in with or without children, intergenerational family. But if we want it, it's very wide, so that everybody would feel involved in the family meeting. Establishing guidelines for this family policy, we supported on the following statement. Let's not forget that the city of Dieppe is a francophone city offering services in both official languages. But now you see that the five principles of family are listen and commit, optimize the role of the family in the city, help the action of the city by really explaining its role, put forward the benefit of families that TIEP offers, bring an inclusive approach, and promote the fact that the city is a place where the family can grow. We believe that these principles will contribute in the identity growth of the city. You'll see it in some action that will propose later that are related to the exchange between citizens and others. So, within the preparation of this family policy, we identified three issues for which actions are possible. Let's start with the accessibility. We consider as an issue with different angles. First, there's the financial dimension with a clarification for activities and services offered by the city. Furthermore, this is a component of the accessibility as much as the schedule will allow the participation, and we realize with the lifestyle that we have today, it's not always able to allow the family to participate in the activities, so we will have to have a concern as far as that goes. The other issue, we talk about partnership. It's clear that the city of Dieppe cannot, on its own, take the whole responsibility of the whole gamut of services and the support to offer to a family. It must cooperate, identify different organization or business to implement and realize the action of that policy. And finally, we talk about the creation of an exchange environment between the business, the municipality, the benefit, the groups that will allow to better know the type of families. We talk about the necessity of an efficient communication, the frequent and the cooperation between the city and all the partners. In preparing the policy, the committee wanted to have a picture of the city, so they examined a few statistics. We are conscious that the city had a great growth in the population over the last few years. For instance, the population went from 12,000 citizens in 1996 to 25,000 in 2016. We stopped, for instance, at the new immigrants. There was a nice growth in newcomers, 1,200 new comers, while there were 265 before. In 2016, we had almost reached the provincial average as far as the growth is concerned. That's very positive. As for the age group, we see that 25 to 54 years of age represent 44.2% of the population in Dieppe, compared to 38.3% of the provincial average. We also have 0 to 14 years of age. It represents 18.1% of the population, compared to 14.88% within the province. So far, the growth is quicker in Dieppe. Same for 15 to 24 years of age, when we represent 11.6% of the population, and 11% for the provincial average. 55 years and over, the average is lower. We're at 26.2%. I say we, because unfortunately I'm in that group, the population, and the provincial average is 35.9%. We have to say that the city of Dieppe is much younger than the rest of the province. That is what we retain. And now, if we look to the families, the growth in the families is in relation to the growth of the population, goes without saying. And in 2016, we had 7,445 families in Dieppe. Of these families, 3,195 had children. Now, on the university level or education or training, we notice that in Dieppe, the level of education, higher college or university, is much higher than the New-Brunswick average. Same thing with the income. There's a slight margin of more income for each family. When we talk about family income average for people with children, 2.5 children, while composite family, we talk about 2.6 children. So the data are beneficial. And what must be said is that we look more at the families that are less favor and are under the average. We think that the family we identified axiom of operation committed family. Active family propose actions that will favor arts and culture. The city wants to offer more benefit possible, more activities, so that they can offer their well-being by moving and by growing through practices of varied art and culture. Families in safety have actions aiming a safe life with campaign of awareness. Family in the city can depend on committed families in the community with opportunities of meeting. We think that this can favor a better integration of new families. And so we retain 18 actions that can deal directly with active families. For this family policy, it goes without saying that other actions can be added over the next few years, but there are 7 actions that are within the active family axiom. Let's start with the first one. We talk about examining the possibility of integrating the family in the notion of group in different beautiful facilities. I mentioned earlier. Action 2 to 5 should give more opportunities to the family to practice physical activities. These are all actions that are centered towards the action of moving, use different municipal facilities to that end. For number 6, it reflects the will of many families to use their velo for creative activities or others. We know that Dieppe has been very active in the past with Velo Tour, but there's much more to be done. And finally, the culture aspect as the young youth, we must develop and contribute to the identity construction of youth by the practice of cultural activity in our community. The school district Franco South has adopted the development of the identity construction as part of their action in the schools. And I remember that in the 1980 we worked on the integration of art and culture in school environment, and we use a sentence that always marked me. We said that if the experience of art and culture is not happy at a young age, there's very little chance that it will happen at adult stage. In the app, if we focus on the family and give the opportunity to our young fiber in recreation, sports, and activity, we will have complete activities, and this will make them citizens, full citizens. We are also proposing for the axle of family safe. 4 actions, comments have been received for the improvement of pedestrian crossing. We know that the work is going on. It's important to do it when the condition will justify it, as you see. In action A, the implementation of strategy and safety are important for the families. If you see that it's explained in action 10. And finally, in action 11, the access to housing for all, especially in affordable housing with several bedrooms. This is a concern, and we see it in action 11. Now, 6 actions were identified for the axle of engaged family. Action 12 is focus on financial help, goes beyond registration fees. We want to allow the greater number of families to participate in activities and programs of the city with the appropriate help. For instance, over and above registration, whether it's transportation, equipment. While the action 13 and 14 focus on the community engagement. In action 15, we see that the building of intergenerational complex and the existence of the Center of Arts and Culture can improve the well-being of the family. That is explained in Action 15. Action 16, there's a way that teenagers can commit themselves within the community. Finally, Action 17 and 18 aim on partnership. So, for the implementation of this family policy, first it was assured by the Culture Recreation Community Service, and I agreed Pauline's work. She met every department of the city. They tore apart the document before they went further in the process. Question of making sure that everybody was on even ground within the policy. We developed a plan of action. They said the annual plan of action spread over 5 years is something that is forthcoming. 1923, based on a real expiry date, with an important operation of communication in order to inform the citizen as it goes along. And finally, we will validate every year the results to readjust the results. So, in conclusion, we can say that this policy wants to be inclusive for the majority of the family, and namely those who are underprivileged. It proposes action of exchange between different groups and culture in the context of our Acadian culture. And finally, all we wish is that you, as member of the Municipal Council, will support this policy and show the will of implementation of the family policy by supplying the necessary resources and by taking necessary actions. On this, we're supposed to say thank you. We compose a song, but I mean, we thank you for listening, and we are citizens of Dieppe for a long time, and makes very proud to be. There's been nice accomplishment to which I was able to participate at different level, and same thing with Florette. So we're very excited, as well as on behalf of all members of the Citizen Committee who were with us. We're all excited to the idea that Dieppe be one of the first city in New-Brunswick to adopt a family policy. We're open to questions, comments. Thank you very much, the two of you. It would have been hard to find two persons who represent as well as you represent our community. The way that you have always, each one of you in different sectors, but with always with goodwill and courage for the community and to make our community go forward. And that community is from councillors. Councillor Thibodeau, Thank you, Your Worship. It's not a question. It's simply, I want to thank you for the work that you are doing with your group. I've been asking for many years that we have a family policy, and I'm glad that finally it's getting here. I really appreciated the definition of family that you've given. That is very inclusive, and it's very very good. I noted the comment by Flaret earlier. We want to favor the families who need it the most. Most people in Dieppe are quite fortunate, but there are many families who just can't make the ends meet, and it's good to focus this group. Thank you very much. Consider that. Thank you, Your Worship. I want to echo, you've chosen two good persons to form this committee. A community in evolution, inclusive, it's the most important to live in 2019. I like action, there's 16, 18. So, which action should happen before the others? For me, action 11. Affordable housing, it's one of the most important. Action 15. We already have the art center. Not only must we work on it, as Sylvie Turgeon will talk with the art center, we must invest in it. Intergenerational center will give a new phase to the city of Dieppe. So, is there priorities in our action, or must the 18 be implemented together? I think that when we consulted, we could have put much more than 18, but we said we have to start somewhere. So my opinion is that I think we should work on the 18 almost simultaneously if it's possible, because some deal with different sectors. So I think that with security, we can work with somebody else where Expansion Dieppe is working on the field of affordable housing. The 18, yes, that are there were the most important to start with. So I think we should, I know it's a lot of work for the city, for the employees, but we talk about partnership. So we want organization and population to work with the city to accomplish these actions. In my opinion, if possible, it should be done simultaneously. Maybe an addition of information, we must realize that the city, it's to your honor, you're doing a lot in the family active axiom. Dieppe is proposing a lot of activities security-wise. Certain things are very good. There are things to come. Committed family also. We've already developed that cooperative approach, and by going to find some allies. And the challenge for the culture recreation will be to give the axiom of good priorities. I thought I understood from Pauline, following the meetings she had with the different departments, there's already lights that were lit for different avenues. As Florette said, I think everything will go forward, but the timetable must be realistic, and within each year, in the 5-year plan, we must be able to measure some quite a high success rate. Well, Your Worship, I think that the policy that we have opened up today is probably one of the most important policies that have been brought before the council in the last 3 years. I don't know. If we try, it can certainly go forward and become a reality in a very near future. Thank you, Shaila. Mr. Godet. Your Worship, thank you for your work and to put everything together and make it as successful as possible. One thing I'd like to raise is that during the consultation that were held here at City Hall. I remember clearly that evening. There was a lot of seniors present, and what came out of that meeting from the seniors, especially, it was a need to have feelings of belonging and less isolation. I'm trying to see through the report where that comes out, where that can come out. There's a reference to senior as to the intergenerational center. But one of the points that I found important is that these people express a kind of isolation. And they felt part of the family, even if they're 75 or 80 years of age. Sometimes they feel isolated. One of the axioms could have been integration, belonging, or where we would have these people that feel rejected or isolated. Did you have the chance to discuss these elements and what came out? I know there's been a lack of a representative for seniors, and she would have explained that dilemma. Well, in the first meeting, what I can say is that we talk a lot about that. We talk about the people who live isolated, and one of the axioms that would be favored is the intergenerational. By using the intergenerational center, we refer the art and culture center, where we have to find more opportunities, take advantage of the experience of people who are older, like experience to share with the youth in a more complete document from this presentation. They talk about a more complete document. Maybe we're mentioning it more, but it was a concern. Maybe you can complete the same thing. What I want to say is that's why in the action we could not put everything, but action 15 will be able to include more strategies, and it will be a matter of developing during the plan of action within the 5 years. But that's why we said we wanted to favor more exchange between the children, teenagers and senior by cooking activities, but there can be a lot of strategies that will be developed, and we hope that the intergenerational, such as the Art Center, will give the opportunity to do things like that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cadet. Anyone else from the council? If not, once again, I want to thank you. Thank you for the presentation, but especially for the work that was done. It's a very heavy task to consider all the different aspects of the city. As mayor, and I'm convinced that the members of council feel the same way, we are very lucky to have the community that we have, and I think that your statistics show all kinds of figures that talk on the issue, but we must not forget our newcomers, or the families, as you said so well, the families who have more needs than others, and the work of Pro Youth and Big Peace and all that. It shows the heart of our community. So we certainly will talk about all these elements during the next weeks, months, years, to continue to make our community go forward. To the young people who are here in the room, I would say you have a challenge in front of you, because sooner or later many of us will want to move aside and leave, give you some room. So you are the ones who will meet the challenge. It's not a challenge. That's one of the actions. That's good. Excellent. Thank you once again. And thank you to the staff who committed in that process. I could talk about for hours on the elements, but I think that you have summarized very well, and will continue to apply the pressure where we must in order to find the money, because often it starts with budget and to put them at the right place to make our community go forward. Thank you to one and all. Thank you. I'll come back to my agenda. We have one more presentation, three more, sorry. The second one is the humanitarian trip to Haiti, the Mathematics grade 9 student presentation by Mr. Morisari. And all these nice persons present, good evening, Your Worship. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you and the council, the councillors, to have us here tonight. I'm emotional to talk about a trip to Haiti with what is happening now in Haiti. It's serious. We all heard on the news. To talk about a trip among all this is somewhat difficult, but we have good young people and the presence of some of our youth and the parents and adults who will be coming with us to give you an overview of what the project is. I'd like to present the project and somewhat of the place in Haiti with the people we work with. The foundation of the project is Canada as a cure giver. We want to give the youth a place of reflection, of security, understanding, and personal development through the process of creation. So we use photography to help the youth over there to talk and express through the trauma that they lived. For instance, in the trip, what we'll do, talk to you about what happened in Port Salut, but our mission is to support the emotional healing by creation of those who live with pain, poverty, or stress. And it is really something when we are there, when we see something that is powerful, and the idea that we want to share that with the young people from here, the grade 9 students with the parents. It's an opportunity where something will remain for life, will stick for life. We'll look at the end of June. It's at the end of June that we are going. Of course, if there is the least vibration, that there are problems with the good parents that we have, with the good adults that we have, of course, we will not make the trip, but until now we're going ahead. We must not stop organizing to be ready for the trip. So presently, to give you another example, because we're talking about 35% of young Asians are unable to read, and the average children spend less than 4 years in school. So if you can imagine our young students here, 4 years of school, it would not be acceptable. It would not happen in a pro-family community like Dieppe. So for us, the projects that we'd like to heal, we press the education aspect. Also in Haiti, there's more than 400,000 children with no parents. And 1 out of 5 child will die before the age of 6. That is something else that I have difficulty to accept. That's why we're working in countries like that to help. We help in our own community, but I think that with the Canada to Heal project, we were lucky to work in Africa, Colombia, now in Haiti. I've been involved in Haiti since 2012, and we did accomplish many things that I'll share with you shortly. Just to give you an overview, these are the places where I live in Port Salut. You can see the nice cabins. You can see close to the water. It's a nice place. It's nice. It's a good place to live, but in October 2016, Hurricane Matthew, I don't know if you remember, that hit Haiti. The village of Port Salut was completely demolished. And it is being rebuilt. But a village of 3,000 to 3,500 people, almost 1,000 people died the night of the hurricane. 960 some odd people. That's the place where we live in Haiti, at Port Salut. After the hurricane, here's the result for the same place that I just showed you. So it was an extremely severe hurricane that struck very hard and destroyed the village. San Francisco School, that is in Port Salut, was demolished somewhat, but it remained intact. And the Reposoir is rebuilt, so of course we can go and visit that. But as you can see, the condition for young people to go to school is not easy. On the average, the young walk in the highways that you see, the condition that you see about 5 kilometers a day. One way, 5 kilometers every day in these conditions to get to school. They're very proud to be in school. It's an honor for them to be in school. And it's really something to see when we see them walk to make it there in heavy heat with very little food. The young people we work with, if you can see the projects that we'll be making, there's a camera to heal where we live with young people who were traumatized by the disaster, the tragedy, the earthquake, and the Matthew hurricane. That's a project, camera to heal. And the second project is with the young people of youth, Haiti. And the third phase, the third part of the project is the building of a school. Already our project, we're on the third phase of the building of the school. If you can see, the school with the red roof. There's 430 students in that school that attend that school from grade 1 to 8 on average. At the one end of the school, there's a church. The other end, it was kindergarten. The kindergarten suffered a struck of hurricane, so it was completely destroyed. So that's what we want to rebuild. Phase 1 was a reconstruction of the roof, the red part that you see. Phase 2, we wait for the construction of the kindergarten. That is for 82 children. We build some kind of a soccer field and volleyball. Phase 3 will be the kindergarten. So this is the project. The young people, it's their initiative. They're very smart. Our youth, their project, they want to make community garden, and we will work with camera to cure. They will make a garden to help them out. Very good initiative. I'll go fast. You see, these are the young people we work with. There's a lot of them. Well, when we were there the last trip, we brought some Canadian flags. It was fantastic. I also brought some banners of Rotary Club from Dieppe, things like that. We even represented Dieppe. We went on our last trip to public meetings. But you see that that's Karen and I. We are surrounded by young people. It's full of young people. It's fantastic to see those young people, because even if they are in extreme poverty, the condition of life are awful, somewhat awful. You see the smile. You see, they want to live. It's special. This is why I know that our young people who will come with us to that trip will establish a relationship. They will learn things that will remain for the rest of their life. It's very positive. It's very positive, and it's something that is very special. This is to give you an idea of the classroom. As you see upstairs, it's a typical classroom with the young children. They try to play soccer. Also, we are in partnership, my team, over there with a lot of doctors, lawyers, business people, people who are well placed in the community, politically speaking, also. We are connected, we live and work with hospitals. So we are surrounded by all of that. You see on the photographs on the left, I am with part of the team and the blue suitcase. There's 400 needles that we brought from here, from the Figura Institute here in Dieppe, for penicillin medication to help the hospital. So we have support from local Dieppe businesses who want to help us to do things. I'm very happy as far as that goes. And this is when I spoke to the Rotary Group, the Lakai Rotary Club, and the banner, the one with the shirt, is the banner with the Acadian flag with the city of Dieppe on the flag. This was the exchange that we made, and I brought the young flag. It says Lakai. I give it to the Rotary Club in Dieppe, and they can have it because it was their flag. That was the exchange. For me, it's very special because it is, we work with them, and to have a link with the last village, I explained what was Dieppe, a little bit of history in the city of Dieppe, but now when we arrive in Haiti with adults, parents, and our beautiful youth of Dieppe, it'll be something that will be extremely interesting for everyone involved, because they will be very happy to receive us. They already are. This is part of our team. You see Karen. Karen is here. She works with me on the project. These are some members of our team. There's a priest, there's a doctor, a contractor, several members of our projects. We are well surrounded in Haiti, and we're not in Port-au-Prince. We're 3-4 hours from Port-au-Prince in a town called Lakai, which is approximately an hour and a half from the Port-Salut village. We're between the two villages, and we work in mountains. Very relaxed area. It's very good area. To give you an idea, Lakai would be something like Mountain Dieppe Review. It would be something like that, and Lakai would be the equivalent of Bouctouche, distance-wise. It's not far, but as you can see, when we go to Haiti, we travel heavily. Have a group like this have a lot of help, a lot of arms to carry things. We bring a lot of car and a lot of things to build. It's an intensive project, very intensive, that requires a lot of work. So my participation is that I organize the RN, while all parents with the young people organize here. But usually I go to Haiti or a country like that with 2 or 3 persons that go with 18 youth or 18 adults. The budget goes up somewhat. That's why we want to present and talk about all that. But the purpose with the youth, I'm excited. It's to be able to make things grow, to make things, to give food to the young people. It's something big, and that's where I think we will accomplish things. So as soon as people can feed themselves, it changed dynamic, it changed everything. So this is where I think we will accomplish nice things. These are young people from the kindergarten that we will rebuild. 2 young people a note when Karen and I were there to do photographs with people. We organized, and We took our photographs to document the project and people that we meet. And you see the photographs on the right-hand side on top, the two little boys and all the children who attend school. We went in the third world, they wear uniforms. When I came to them, I said, you're handsome, you're so handsome with your uniform. I think it's the second one on the right. Look at me, he said, yes, sir. But he was not impressed to be dressed in pink. Four boys, and they were not too proud of that. But anyway, they're in school and they're proud of that. Not proud to be dressed in pink. It touched me, things like that, even though over there with young people who don't have many things can realize that I'm a little boy, I'm not too happy to be dressed in pink. For them, it was something. But you see, these are young people, nice young people like our youth. They're younger than ours, than our group, but you see, they're beautiful children. The only thing that they would like is to have the opportunity of having an education, a little future, and some food. Give you an idea of what we accomplished with a camera to cure. This is one of the group I work with at the beginning of my trip. As part of a group, these are young of 17, 18 years of age who have difficulties. Conversation with them was suicide. They didn't think they deserved to live. The young girl think my life is ended, something will happen that won't be interesting. So it was not. Look at the faces. You see, there's a lot of fear, a lot of no confidence in themselves. Why? No confidence in us. Why are you here? But what we do is we have to let them know we're there for the good reason. We're there to help them. Also, look with the faces. Look at the young girl with the shirt at the end on the right in black. She approached me, and I'll talk about that. But if you see this group, 1 week after we work with them, when we started making them talk, open up, and talk about their pains, a week later, here's the same group. So there is a different dynamic here in 1 week of work with these people. We were with people from University of Moncton at the time I was working with, and they were young people who were in the Department of Psychology to help us, and we're in consultation with psychologists, and to be able to implement projects. To come back to the photographs, I was talking with the girl dressed in black. Her dream that she thought she could never accomplish, she wanted to be an accountant. But she didn't have the means to go to school, no opportunity to go to school. So for her life was done. No future zero. So she was talking to us like that, and I'm very happy to announce, and we took care of her education. She graduated this year, first in her class at the University of Haiti as an accountant. For us, it's something that it's very warm for us. Someone who talks about suicide to a person who graduate at the university level, and she's finding clientele like hospitals. And also, I said if she did well, maybe she could help us when we're there with our receipt and everything else. She can put in her summary that she has an international client. So for her, it's something. Now our purpose is the children, the youth. We want to help them. We want to supply them, provide them food, and provide them scribblers and pencils so they can educate themselves, so that one day they can be good adults to be able to take care of their own country or their village or their town, but also to take care of their own children. So here's our group. This is the group that will be coming with us. I'm very proud of them. The young are incredible. Their vision, their energy. I wish I could bottle it up, but that's the project. And I thank you very much for listening to us, to allow us to tell you what we want to accomplish. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you. Mr. Cormier, you have a question. Thank you, Worship. Congratulations. At the end, you mentioned equipment or scribblers and pencil for the young people who are in school at the end of the year. There are thousands of sheets that are sent the garbage landscape. It's an opportunity to have a chance to pick them up and pick up boxes in hallways of school. In 1991, I don't know how many boxes brought geometry set and everything that the students don't want, and over there it would be, it's a luxury. Congratulate you for the initiative, and I know that the young people come back, their young will be changed forever. Thank you. Mr. Brideau, my hat goes up, Johnny, to all the youth who are here tonight. While you were talking about schools, the needs that young people need, I have a son who works each year with Division G of RCMP in Fredericton. Each year, they organize a hockey tournament here in Dieppe towards the end of April or May. And the money that they collect, they established a collection. Gallagher, who died during the hurricane, I visited his school, and that money, it's for school supply for children, and maybe it's an opportunity, maybe something I could approach you to maybe have a contact. Yes, no problem. I know the person who's in charge of it over there with my son. These are things that when we talk about schools, my colleague just said there's so many things that we throw out at the end of the year, and for us it's a garbage can, but for them nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. So of course we'll communicate with you. I'll be in touch with you, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Messiah. I just want to say the beautiful work that Modest does. Modest, you're an inspiration for everybody. You just showed us earlier what life is like for other young people elsewhere. You will have Benjamin Martin, the Darfos, Catherine Desjardins, Eric Odega, the young people I know, and they are good people. And I find that Louis was saying earlier that chance help us to vibrate, and you'll give a chance to these people to vibrate. What Jacques was saying, and Councillor Brito, if there's something we can do as a city, as an individual, please tell us. Be careful what you ask for. I think there's a lot more people that are ready to participate and help you than you know. And you have ambassadors that I mentioned. They're good kids. They are good young people, and I think that we have the chance, as Louis was saying, of training people who work complete. So I think the community would be surprised that the community is ready to do. Well, we would like to do that. So it's like a trip. It's not 50 cents to go there with 40 people. So it's appreciated. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Congratulations. It's a very good presentation, and you have such a nice group. How many parents? Probably half and half. The purpose is 1818. just to give you an idea, the ratio when we started planning was to have one adult or one parent for each child. So we want to make sure they're well taken care of. I'm sure that security is important. I found it quite visible, the fact that you mentioned that it was comparable to Baktush. I thought, oh, it would make a big difference size-wise, but surrounded by water, very good. Good luck. I'll keep you informed of what is happening, and we will organize activities so you'll be kept informed. Mr. Gwinnett, thank you, Your Worship. I just want to ask, by curiosity, what do you do there? Is it construction? Is there teaching? Consultation? What do you do while you're there? While we're there are three things we want to do. The first thing, maybe not the first, but the foundation of the project, there is an orphanage that was founded by two young people, a couple, 28 years of age, and when Matthew hurricane struck, when it was all over, there were several people, especially young people, who lost everything. Their house, their parents, brother, sister, their sibling. So they were alone, and they're young people the same age as ours. And this couple found an abandoned school. They took it over, and they brought 150 orphan children to live with us. A couple that has no money, and they take care of 150 children. So we work there with them. So our young people with them, that's where we'd like to build a garden to help them to get food. Also, because those young people had a natural tragedy. They suffered trauma as far as loss, the survivor's guilt when someone survived when everybody died. So there's a lot of complexity in their confidence, in their values. With the same young people, we will work. Of course, we can't deal with 150. It's a 3-year project, but we'll work with the camera to heal, to help them develop an emotional side, communication, through arts, to open the dialogue and to help them to believe in themselves, is to build confidence. With that, not far, but with the school that I showed you with the red roof, and that's where we would like to be. In part is to rebuild kindergarten. That's where we'd like to be, because it's phase three, and the soccer field is built. Everything is based on budget, what we can do. So that's my projects. It's camera to heal is to build a kindergarten. It's the 4th year that I built 3 schools in Africa. It's my first one in Haiti, so it's the 4th school. So, of course, usually I don't think of 40 persons, so a lot of attention is sent that way. Normally I go alone. At the beginning I was alone, I would go alone. Now I'm with Karen and 2 or 3 other persons who come with us, so we concentrate Canada camera to cured and the building of a school. We only deal with building of a school after being in a village for 2 or 3 years. We don't go and build a school. Get to know young people. We know the people involved in the already. The first time I went to Port Salut was in 2012. We know the doctors, we know the teachers, we know the priests, we know the people who are there. So now it's time to help. Because the project is my fourth project, Canada to Heal. And we went and dealt with people who were handicapped, lost their legs and arms during the earthquake. So a lot of girls had difficulties in their self-confidence. Now they want to be a mannequin. So Healing Hands, we established partnership, and the Red Cross who help us while we're there. So we made a few projects. A project here with Youth Acadia in Haiti. That is with, of course, we want to do things like that, and it's time to do it, to see how it will go. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Godet. I don't see any other lights, so thank you. Once again, we thank you, we encourage you, we support you. And I think that there are still donuts in the fridge home, frozen donuts, so 963 dozens in a week and a half. But besides that, we're very proud of our young people. I've expressed it on my Facebook page. I won't go in details, but it's close to my heart to see one of mine going there, considering the history with one of my uncles. So we can't wait to see you when you come back. Everybody will have a lot of photographs, as we're two professional photographers. We document everything. Be happy to make public presentation, but also on what the youth. Good gardening. Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the menu. Engineering service. No. Community complex. All right. Implement of the building intergenerational complex. Exactly. Good evening, members of council. I'm here tonight to give you an update on the building of the community intergenerational complex. Our intention is to come back in April and June to give an update of where we're at and where we're going. So we talk about 2-month period, what we did the last 2 months, and what is coming in the next 2 months. That is the intention. Here I want to locate you when I talk about region 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just to situate you, region 1 is the area before a building, the purple that you see. 3 is a green part that is close to the College Street, and part 2 is central between the two. 4 is upstairs, mechanical part of the complex, and part 5 is the second highest, the more community. So when I talk about region 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it will locate you where we're at. So the beginning of the work started on January the 2nd, the day after the 1st, so we didn't waste any time in 2019 to go to the opening planned for the end of 2020. The excavation started on January 7th, and we also prepare the basis of the parking at the same time. As the elevation is almost completed, we talk about 6,000 to 7,000 cars that brought out materials since January the 2nd. So there was a lot of traffic on College Street, yes, but now we're approximately 80% completed in excavation. I'll say quickly, we're ahead of our schedule, but like me, building we can expand on something else. But now it's going well. What we did, excavation region 1, that was the part in front, and part in region 3, that is the main ice, is completely completed. So that were the two regions on our side that we wanted to deal with it first, and then to start the foundation of region 1. That was started 2 weeks ago with the foundation, and by the way, we are losing concrete. Why? We're losing 2,500 cubic meter of concrete, more than 300 trucks of concrete in the project. So this gives you an idea of the infrastructure that we have, or what we'll have in 2020. It's quite impressive. So the foundation started, and the foundation region 1 will be completed before the end of next week. Foundation is completed, and we'll go on with region 3 in the main ice with the foundation. Then to come is to pursue the excavation, because it's the print of the building or the complex, but we also have the parking to do. So we'll keep on with that undertaking until April, and then at the beginning of April, according to the schedule, we'll start with metallic structure. So you'll start seeing that phases, the complex started growing up, erecting. So the region up front, the largest swimming pool will start in April. So one of the questions is 1, then we'll start at 3, and we'll go west to go on with the foundation, metallic structure, and other. So for us, that is the idea. For me, but our design builder proposed to us, and we have a schedule that is being reviewed every 2 weeks. We look where we're at, where we're going, and that is something good. I know I've been asked to do some visit presently. There's so much traffic, on-site traffic, that is dangerous. But in the next weeks or months, we will organize some visits with you. If you wish, everybody wants to visit that. Now, as for the traffic on the site, it's so dense, so heavy that it's somewhat dangerous. But I ask you, we don't have any problem, but I ask you to respect that, not to go on the location without being accompanied. We'll coordinate everything with you to do some visit. So, that's it. I don't know if you have questions. Question, Councillor Gadet. Thank you, Worship. Just to know, I heard there might be a webcam to see the construction from a distance on the internet. When do you think that camera could be installed? It was installed today. Good. So yes, it's good timing. Presently, I'm not sure if it's online, but Mr. Dag, tomorrow, okay. Tomorrow it will be online. So the camera is installed. I thank the director of IT, who in the cold weather went to set it up, but people can follow it. You'll be able to see it besides the other two webcam on website, or is it a totally different place? I'm not communication-wise. We have a website, www.dieppecomplex.ca, so I think it'll be there, but there will be a link from our website, because we have two webcam already at 1604 and another one, so we could have the three. We have more than two cameras Well, we have them on streets, on side of streets. These are more for accidents, or eventually for offenses such as people who burn red light. There will be income for everybody. I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else, Mr. Snow? Your worship. Mr. Nadeau, I congratulate you because you've acted very quickly. Since the beginning of January, you've done a lot. But I congratulate Paul Marneau for being able to put all the concrete with all the cold weather we've had and the weather we've had. It's really fantastic. Congratulations. And as you mentioned, that the concrete will be solid and it will be very good. It will be very well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Worship. One question when we talk about webcam. It's not only for us. People can go in and follow the same thing as us. Yes. From a link. Yes. The same way you can look at place 1604. It gives the people a chance to follow the development, and it helps people to better appreciate better. I hope not to go. They can see from a distance, so I hope they will go on site. Other questions? No other questions. So thank you very much for your presentation. We'll see you in 2 months. We will not let you forget. Next project. It's very much in season. The snow deposit. Mrs. Spencer, good evening. And Mr. Berg. Good evening. I tried to encourage Mrs. Spencer to do the whole presentation, but she wanted me to do the introduction. It's a good sharing. It's a joint project, Public Works, with the engineering department. It's a need that was identified several years ago. A place to store the snow. It was introduced for the first time in the fall of 2016. We've talked about it for a few years. It was following a record year that started on January the 20th in 2015. Until then, we had nothing on the ground. I'm giving statistics. I went to see in my notes 139 centimeters, including among 3 blizzards in 7 days, 139 centimeters of snow. And we had 540 during the whole period until the mid or the end of March that year. Our sidewalk snow remover were very busy. The need was identified already. The challenge that we meet often is where do we put the snow? We have places that we use, such as the cul-de-sac of Bassa. We can't go there anymore. On Rufin Street, right beside the operation building that we are still using, but eventually a development is coming on that property. There's also agreement on aviation with the airport, and we use a lot of sites here and there, places where our bylaws don't allow us to do those kinds of activities. And also, we have to consider the environmental aspect of things. And, well, the main sites that we had, well, it's for sale or doesn't belong to us. So we had to look at something. I'm not going to make the whole presentation. Angel will talk to you about it, but we were looking for a site that was big enough to accommodate our snow project, would allow private contractors to also use it or use them. So that's one of the objectives that we have. Of course, there will be cost. Our neighboring cities doing the same thing. Our site will be half the size of that of our neighbors, but we have to say we have 1/3 of the road compared to our neighbors, and we have the opportunity to for expansion on the proposed site. So I noticed because we're working together, and I'm in the part where Angel, Director of Engineering, should make a presentation. I'll let her finish at least so she can answer your question. Just a comment on statistics. The fact that we have a site that is half that of Moncton, it's good to have these ambitions that eventually our population will continue to grow. So it's good also to have thought of a future expansion. Good evening. Good evening, Ms. So as Mr. Burke mentioned, we had several sites over the years, but no site that was dedicated, and we base on the winter 2015. It's been the biggest winter in recent years, snow-wise as it is. When we looked to choose a site, we wanted to see that it be away from residential, can be a 24-hour operation when the people are sleeping. We want it to be as much as possible away from residential areas to reduce the noise, and it's to meet environmental standards, so we can't be close to a stream. Brooks have a retention part, you'll see on the design, and our site is located close to highways. That's an advantage. As I mentioned, it's a potential source of revenue with private that look at an interest to use a future site, and also to allow future expansion. The site is located east of the airport. From Champlain Street, there would be an access highway built to make it to the site. Here we can see an aerial view is the land located left of Lakeburn Lumber sawmill, and you can notice the square in the middle. It's a tower from NAV Canada. And also the snow deposit would be located where the red X is. As out of red X, there's enough space for future expansion. We know we want our city to keep on growing, so in future years it would allow the expansion of the site. And also to note that the higher part of the site would be save for future expansion. It has to be compatible, commercial, with the travel of vehicles and all that. So here we can see on the left a preliminary design. Our access road is located in the middle of the site. We had to work with the elevation on Champlain Street, but the elevation of the soil that are located on that soil, and it brings us to the snow deposit per se. At the bottom on the left, it's hard to see, but here, right here, it's the retention time that will collect all the water from the site so that the sediment can be deposited before the water is released. The environment on the right side, we see as future sanitary collector. It's for the commercial we have to have a collector to accommodate that area. That collector could be built right beside our access highway, the same place. As for the timetable, design are being prepared. We hope to call for tender in March, open the tender in April, come back here for the approval of the engineering cost on April the 23rd, so that the building can start towards the end of May. Following, so that the restriction be lifted and the site will be ready for next winter. So that's it. Thank you. Question? Members of council? Shada? Ms. Spencer? it belongs to expansion Dieppe, but there will be exchange of land to allow the higher part will be reserved for development. There'll be expansion Dieppe will own it, and the lower part will become the property of the city. Do you know the history of the property? Is it something we've always owned, that expansion owned forever? No. As you will probably remember, it was raised during our last meeting. The details are in your file. Maybe not 100%, but the history of the land, I don't know. I don't see anyone from Expansion Dieppe here, but since it's right beside the tower, and there are exchanges of land that are included in that, I've said more than I should for the time being in public. That's it. Thank you. Nobody else? Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. For next fall. Now it can stop. We've had enough. Snow. This concludes tonight's meeting. I want to thank you for your attention. I thank our public for their patience. Good evening, everybody.